So I came home and I had $200 bills in my pocket, Ned. And so my 11-year-old was 9, my 6-year-old was 4. So I knew my 4-year-old would not know what that $100 was, right? I knew that. But my 9-year-old should know what that $100 meant, right? So both of them, the 9-year-old did exactly what the 4-year-old did, throw it on the counter and run and go play in the house. And I knew at that point that I had to teach them what that $100 bill actually meant, right?
And there were times, dude, let's see, my twins are 14. 14 years ago, we were on free cheese and milk from the government. I had 3 jobs, and she was standing in line at the grocery store with 4 little kids getting, free formula. Yeah. I did it once. It was horrible. And so, man, it took me, and I share that to go, it took me a minute to look at, she's serving in this capacity, and I'm serving in this capacity, and what an honor. Like, I should just be handing it all over. Like, that should be my view. And it wasn't. Yeah. So, thank you for sharing that.
To be a stay-at-home mom, you really are giving up a lot too, right?
Bro, for sure.
My wife used to say, call me when you leave work. And I'd be like, I'm not calling. I just want to be silent. I want to take this car ride all the way home, and just be silent, right?
Yeah.
And when I come to realize, wait a minute, her only conversation is with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Just think about that, right? So, you were in this home for 10 hours or 8 hours or however long it is, and the only person you're having a conversation with is a 2-year-old. Ooh, that's kind of rough, right? I could do that for a day. I could do that for 2 days, maybe a week. That'd be pushing it a little bit. So,
yeah, but 2 years?
God, I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine.
Yeah, moms do sacrifice a lot, and just things like your kids are a little, 6 and 11 now, so you might be getting out of this. But I think what a lot of dads miss is that identity piece for moms is like helping moms have some time for themselves, so that their identity doesn't just become feeling like slave. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so giving mom space to get out and go do some things is really important. I want to jump into a couple things, but one final question for you is, what would you say the role of the father is? If you were to kind of define what a role of a father is, what would that be?
I think it's different for different people, right? I think a lot of that is learned through your childhood, right? I think what defines you. So I grew up without a dad. So whenever I knew I was going to be a father, so it's one of the questions that you had said, what influenced you, or what? I was looking at the questions last night, and which I didn't answer any of them. So here we are having a true, honest conversation. But how I learned to be a father was by knowing the things that I did, or knowing what I did not want to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever you say, what is my role as a father? I think it's, my ultimate goal for a father is for my children to be independent. And so I am geared in a way of just exploring things with them, of what they're wanting to be when they graduate from high school, right? So we know what our kids are doing between now and 18. Mm-hmm. But when I graduated, no one was there to say, hey, what do you want to do now? This is a big world out here. What are you going to do? And so I had to kind of, sift through all of that myself. So my role is to teach my kids how to be independent.
And what I hear you say in that is,
but there's a lot that goes into that, right? There's love that goes into that. That's moments that go into that. That is, a lot of time goes into that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the things I think of when I think of independent, and just the way you phrase it, is to teach our kids to think.
Correct.
Right? Is and when they graduate, one, they're going to have an incredible resource in you because you're going to be standing there to support them. So it's like they're independent because they can think for themselves, but they have an incredible resource, you know, you and Dana, to turn to as a rock, as an anchor, as they, you know, go through life.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about independent is you're open for them to be challenged, right? Like, let me give these kids some challenges. So, I mean, ultimately so that they can critically think, and solve problems, which is what you need to be able to do out in the real world.
Like, life is hard, right?
Life is hard.
And my kids are, you know, I grew up in, I mean, we didn't have anything. So, and so making it in this world, right? My kids are home, which is easier to climb the mountain than to be thrown from the top down, right? So I almost look at this life that my kids have is way different, but you have to parent differently, right? So they have to understand that, you know, they have to earn things. So I, a couple of years ago, probably about 2 years ago, I came in to the house and I had, I'd been signing cards for employee appreciation. And so every employee, I'd put $100 in the card and, you know, thank them for, you know, their services, right? And thank them for being a loyal employee and a great employee. So I came home and I had $200 bills in my pocket, Ned. And so my 11-year-old was 9. My 6-year-old was 4. So I knew my 4-year-old would not know what that $100 was, right? I knew that. But my 9-year-old should know what that $100 meant, right? So
right, the value, yeah.
Both of them, the 9-year-old did exactly what the 4-year-old did. Throw it on the counter and run and go play in the house. And I knew at that point that I had to teach them what that $100 bill actually meant, right? So I started, so my 9-year-old, and since then, he goes to work with me one day a week while he's out during the summer months. And he works 8 hours. If I work 8 hours that day, he works 8 hours. If I work 10, he works 10. And but I pack his lunch that day, so he and I will sit in the boardroom, have our lunch together. He gets to work on time. He takes his lunches, and so at the end of the day, the accounting department pays him for however many hours that was. So he gets paid minimum wage, and he leaves with, and minimum wage is a lot of money now, right? So
I know, right?
It's almost so bad. I should not be paying him minimum wage, but I do. And he leaves with, I don't know, $80 in his pocket. I don't know. And but now he gets to spend that money as well. So I'm trying to teach him that life is not as simple as it is for you right this second. It actually gets way harder.